Peace. I'm making this particular video to talk about a few different things. First thing in particular, I'm going to talk about slavery. So, the story has it we were brought here on boats, either from Africa or they rounded black people or Africans or people that were indigenous to this land, which is America. They rounded them up and they enslaved them. They beat us upside our head, raped our women, used our babies as alligator bait, and a host of other things for 400 years or so. They freed black people, and black people obviously had to continue to fight for rights. We're going to pause right there, and in the process of slavery and getting out of slavery, black people made a lot of inventions, and a lot of those inventions we did not receive credit for. A lot of those inventions the white slave owners would take credit for, and they would take the patents, or when they created the patent office, they would, take the creation and, put a patent on it so it could be theirs. We couldn't read, we couldn't write. It made it virtually impossible for us to communicate amongst each other without them knowing what we were saying. They kept us shut off from the world. We didn't know where we were. It made us change our names and all these other things. And like I said, they took all our inventions for themselves. Now we get into the freeze, the civil rights, or not even civil rights, where they free black people, and black people are, trying to find ways to survive. Some of them go work back for slave masters. Some of them get some land. Some of them get murdered. Some of them wander around until they die, or something else. I'm not sure exactly how. The part after slavery and, the build up to the Civil War, they had a lot of black cities and different organizations that were, a lot of black people that were working together, and they were building businesses up together. Then obviously the civil rights movement came, or not the civil rights, but the, the free slaves and the Reconstruction and bombing up and blowing up all our, black Wall Streets and tearing down our crop fields and coming with the KKK and murdering all our people off. And still not having access to this country, still not having access to certain things. Civil rights has come. Civil rights, this is where black people want to be integrated and be part of the United States social order, or whatever the fuck you want to call this shit. They do the marching, they do the, trying to get integrated into the society. I don't know how many people know, when they was doing all that marching, a lot of us didn't have the manufacturing or the factories or the tools to create, shirts like this or anything. Like, just think of the early 60s and 70s where they had all those shirts. They had to go to their enemy. They had to go to their enemy and get that shit pressed up and printed out. And when I speak on going to our enemy, we went from depending on them solely and working on the fields and producing all of their products to being integrated into society, to not producing anything and depending on them totally. A lot of us come into consciousness and awakeness with access to books and this internet, but I don't know if a lot of us think about it. Just as they enslaved us, just as they, came around the world and colonized the world with weapons and guns and alcohol and religion, they allow people to have what we have now, the access to these Albertsons, the access to the Walmarts, the access to the Amazons and the Facebook. This is shit that was allowed. This is some shit that they allowed us to have. And I don't know how many people take time to look at that. None of this shit would be here unless they allowed it to happen. I mean, not to say that they have all the power, but being that niggas came out of slavery and being that we're still integrated into this system, still paying taxes, still get murdered in the streets, still going to jail every day, still have self-hate, they still have the power. And they allowed us to have access to all these, televisions and all this shit that we have access to, because when slavery, we didn't have access. They didn't allow us to have anything. All we had was each other. And the hymns and all the other stuff that we had, but that's all we had. And now that we're integrated and free, we have access and become comfortable with this system that they have built up around us. It's just something to think about. People talk about a bunch of shit about how you can't work with white people, or if you're in this movement, this black power shit, you can't mess with white people. Well, ultimately, everything that's in this country and mostly around the world, unless you have like some connects in Africa, you're going to buy from a white person. You're going to have to do business with a white person. Everything in this motherfucker says buy made in China or made in the U.S. or made somewhere else. It doesn't say made by black people. I mean, some items may say made in, Ghana. How easy is it to access these resources? We have to understand, like I say, this shit was created and allowed for us to be in this condition, or created for us to be here. So all this shit that we have access to is because of that. You know, this fucking white dude, David Bowie, or whoever, David Bowie, I didn't even know who he was. I don't praise white people. I never will praise a white person before I praise any black people. Like I said in the post earlier, you know, people were quick to throw Bill Cosby under the bus, even though I don't support dude and I don't agree with some of the shit that he said. He has, you know, said a lot of things to educate us, you know, on certain things. Just like a lot of our other great leaders, Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson, they all have done good things that are worthy of being respected, and they all have done things that aren't, you know, so good, that need to be called out on and need to be addressed. So we need to hold everybody accountable, but that doesn't mean just throw them on the bus and get rid of them. We have a tendency to just, a motherfucker make a mistake, and they act a certain way. They hold these certain type of guidelines or these code of ethics, and then they fall short of them, and then we want to, you know, disown them and completely throw them under the bus. We are in no position to just get rid of people just because they make a mistake. We all have made mistakes. If we want to start blaming people, we should start blaming the motherfuckers who didn't kill the crackers when they came to Africa. We should blame the niggas who let the Africans, let the fucking crackers come in and slave us. You know, we can blame people all goddamn day, but we ain't got too much time to be disowning motherfuckers, especially if they're truly trying to make a change in our lives, you know, especially for our community. You know, people make mistakes all goddamn day long, and that's just, you know, serious. You know, white people sharing or black people sharing these videos of him speaking out for black people. I have a problem with entertainers who can sit in front of a television, or no, not in front of a television, but in front of a video and speak out on some shit nervously. Like, I don't know how many people remember when Kanye West spoke out against the Katrina shit and he said George Bush doesn't like black people. He said that shit as if he was afraid for his life. Leonardo DiCaprio got on stage at the Golden Globes and said something about the indigenous culture and all this, and he sound scared for his fucking life. So it's like they understand that when they speak out, they're speaking out against some shit that's over control of them. You just pay attention to them. Why would someone who's a professional at performing, at acting on the screen, act nervous in a moment where they recite lines or they say something? As a person, you telling me that they're so accustomed to reading something off a piece of paper that they can't form words and thoughts for themselves without getting nervous? I find that hard to believe. Unless these people who are speaking out against the issues are taking the time and their money and their energy, putting it into an organization as, one, either helping or doing something to change the situation, two, they create one that's geared to doing something in particular or specifically to helping the needs of the people, then them speaking out against anything is just as good as what I'm doing. They're not doing anything. I'm speaking out, but, you know, I'm trying to inform people. They're not informing people of things that they don't already know. Most people know this and they ignore it. The problem is the entertainers who take the time to work and make all this money to continue to entertain us and keep us stupid. They continue to collect the money and they continue to shut the fuck up. It's easy if all of them collectively decided to say this is wrong, but not enough of them collectively say this is wrong and we need to stop this. So if one person steps out and says something, people will clap and act like that shit's okay. People will clap if somebody steps out and says something, and they'll be on the news for a few seconds, and that person may either say something else or they may move on with their fucking lives, but that doesn't change what's going on. You can't be speaking out about some shit if your actions aren't going to be doing. When you speak and you act for this movie, when you know, be a certain type of way, you're doing the movie and you're acting it out and you're expressing an action where people can understand you, where people can see it. So you speaking out on the indigenous, take the money that you make, take the time that you have, start an organization and make some shit happen. Other than that, I don't really care about what Leonardo DiCaprio say, David Bowie, or any of these fucking crackers say, or any entertainer for that matter that has anything to say about black issues or indigenous issues. Take your money, take your time and your energy and use it to something more beneficial, because you're in a position of influential power and you can do much more than speak into a camera and speak out when you receive an award or when you have an interview. That's not beneficial. Ultimately, we don't got time to be throwing our people up under the bus on a continuous basis. You know, we have to learn how to forgive. And not to say forget, we got to be able to show each other our mistakes, be able to take a criticism. And just because somebody criticizes you does not mean they are degrading you. Obviously, it has to be a constructive. You should be able to criticize somebody and give them something that they can use. If you can't do that, then maybe you should shut the fuck up. Learn something new every day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm People ain't gonna always agree with me, and that's cool. But I'm gonna be real with myself, and I'm gonna always think for myself. So I'm always gonna look at shit and form my own motherfucking opinion. I'm not gonna just be biased to certain things. So we gotta be more calculated when we do certain things. Show people their mistakes. That doesn't mean shun them and push them away. Doesn't mean you get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? We have to learn how to respect and have a little bit more compassion for each other and forgiveness for each other. You know, we don't have to forgive these fucking crackers. We don't have to forgive nobody but each other. That's who we need to focus on, is ourselves. We can't continue throwing our own people under the bus. We have to learn how to sit down at a table and discuss our problems and actually work towards doing something. Because throwing Bill Cosby under the bus and then sharing videos of a white dude that's molesting little girls, supposedly he was molesting little girls, and y'all sharing videos because he spoke out about black people and he's married to a black woman. Like, don't nobody give a fuck about that shit. I don't care. What did he do with his money? What did he do overall in the community? Did he build a center? Magic Johnson got schools all around the goddamn United States of America. Magic Johnson got businesses all around the United States of America. Not saying that he's doing a lot of things for black people, but he's doing something. And I don't know about no damn David Bowie. I ain't know who that motherfucker was until today. All I know is fuck him. I don't give a fuck about that guy. I don't give a fuck about no crackers. So, peace. I'm out.